Hi everyone, a very warm welcome to all of you to LawSikho's thorough newspaper analysis for the 17th and the 18th of November. Now let's proceed to the agenda for today. So the first segment is the editorial segment, and here for today's discussion we've taken up a very interesting article that featured in the Indian Express, and the title of this article is How the Mandatory Reporting Provision under the POCSO Act it works. See here, essentially, a High Court ruling. It has, reflected on what is going to be the nature of punishment which is to be given to a person who fails to report an offence under the POCSO Act. And by nature, I mean whether it be bailable, whether it be non-bailable. And this article, especially, it is important for all of us, but especially for those of you who are going to appear for, let's say, the Rajasthan Judicial Services and other states where POCSO Act is a part of your syllabus. Now, secondly, we have a look at the news update segment, and this is going to be followed by important legal news updates for the day. So, without further ado, let's start with this article. The title of it is How the Mandatory Reporting Provision under the POCSO Act it works. So, let's first see the context of this article. Recently, a single judge bench of the Himachal Pradesh High Court it has ruled that failure to report sexual crimes against minors, which is a subject matter of the POCSO Act, it is a bailable offence. Now, before we deal with this ruling in detail, let's understand what are the provisions with respect to mandatory reporting under the POCSO Act and what are sections 19 and section 21 of this act. So, section 19 of the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, it states that anyone having apprehension that an offence under the POCSO Act it is likely to be committed, or anyone who has knowledge that such offence it has already been committed, then such person is duty bound. Why? Because the word shall is used. So such person shall provide such information to the special juvenile police unit or the police. The term any person here, it also includes children or child who may report an offence. Now, this reporting it becomes binding by virtue of another section, which is section 21 of the POCSO Act. Essentially, section 21 it prescribes punishment for failing to report the commission of an offence under section 19. So, section 19 it gives a duty to anyone who is aware of the possibility of commission of an offence under the POCSO Act, or anyone who has knowledge of the fact that an offence has already been committed. So if you are such person, then it is also your duty that you report the offence to the concerned authority. Now, if you fail to do so, then by virtue of section 21, you are bound to undergo a punishment. Now, what is that punishment? It is imprisonment of 6 months, or which may extend to 1 year, or fine, or both. Now, it may be noted that children they cannot be held liable for failing to report the commission of a sexual offence. Similarly, children who make false complaints or give false information, they are also exempt from punishment under section 22 of the Act. So now let's go back to the High Court's ruling, and I'm sure we'll be in a better position to understand it now. So, single judge bench of the High Court, it allowed pre-arrest bail, or to say anticipatory bail, to a hotel manager who is accused of failing to report an offence which was committed against a minor as mandated by section 21 of the POCSO Act. The single judge bench it said that since the act it is silent on whether the offence is bailable or not, the nature of the offence it must be determined with reference to the CRPC. Now, what does the CRPC say on this? So, the classification of offences under the CRPC it categorically states that offences punishable with imprisonment of less than 3 years they are bailable and they are non-cognizable. This we've already dealt with that section 21 It prescribes an imprisonment of 6 months, which is extendable to a year. So, thus, it makes this particular section fall in the classification of CRPC, and therefore it has been held to be bailable offense. Now, let's also have a look at what the Supreme Court's opinion on this entire matter is. So, in a series of decisions, the Supreme Court it has held that failure to report such cases it amounts to a very serious crime. In 2013, a two-judge bench of the Supreme Court in the case of Shankar Kishan Rao Khade versus State of Maharashtra, it ruled that the non-reporting of the crime by anybody after having come to know that a minor child below the age of 18 years was subjected to any sexual assault, it is a very serious crime. The apex court in this particular ruling put an even greater obligation on certain categories of professionals, such as medical practitioners and those who are in charge of educational institutions, to report such cases of child sexual abuse to the nearest juvenile justice board or special juvenile police unit. This created a conundrum for medical practitioners since their professional ethics it required them to maintain the confidentiality of their clients. So since there was a conundrum, there was a conflict. So in order to balance this out, let's understand how the balance was struck. So led by the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, a three-judge bench of the Supreme Court in September of last year, it tried to strike a balance between the mandatory reporting provision under the POCSO Act by virtue of Section 90 and the confidentiality provision under the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act of 1971. So the case concerned here is X versus the Principal Secretary, Health and Family Welfare Department, Government of NCT of Delhi. Here in this case, the bench pointed out to cases where minors might approach a registered medical practitioner for a medical termination of pregnancy arising out of consensual sexual activity. It recognized that minors or their guardians they might be wary of the mandatory reporting requirements to avoid entangling themselves with the legal process and thus approach an unqualified doctor for the purpose of procuring medical termination or abortion. The court said that by insisting on disclosing the minor's name in the report under Section 19, subsection 1 of the POCSO Act, minors may be reluctant to seek out registered medical practitioners for safe termination of their pregnancies. So, pointing out further to Rule 3B, Clause B of the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Rule 2003, as amended later in the year 2021, which allows minors to terminate their pregnancy up to 24 weeks, the Supreme Court said that to ensure its benefit to minors who are engaging in consensual sexual activity, it is necessary to harmoniously read both the POCSO Act and the Medical Termination Act of 1971. So, for the limited purposes of providing medical termination of pregnancies under the NTP Act, the court said that the registered medical practitioner, only on request of the minor and their guardians, can be exempted from disclosing the minor's identity and the personal details under Section 19 of the POCSO Act or in any criminal proceedings that may ensue from the registered medical practitioner's report under Section 91. The court further said, and I quote, such an interpretation, it would prevent any conflict between the statutory obligation of the registered medical practitioner to mandatorily report the offence under the POCSO Act and the right to privacy and reproductive autonomy of the minor under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. So I believe this was a very balanced verdict of the Honorable Apex Court. And with this, we proceed to the national news category for today. And now we proceed to the national news category for today. And this is the very first update. Jharkhand Foundation Day, also known as the Jharkhand Divas, it is celebrated on 15th of November each year. This day, it holds significant historical and cultural importance for the state of Jharkhand. Now, if we have a look at the historical background of carving out the state, then Jharkhand, it was carved out of the southern part of Bihar on this particular day, which is 15th of November 2000, and thereafter it became the 28th state of Indian Union. The Foundation Day, it is a time for the people of Jharkhand to commemorate their statehood and to reflect on their unique identity, the culture, and their history. The creation of the state of Jharkhand, it was a result of a very long-standing demand coming from the various tribal and regional groups for a separate state that would address their economic, their social, and their political aspirations. The establishment of the state, it is aimed at empowering the state communities, the tribal communities in the state, and to promote their overall development in the region. Here I have a question, and again, you know the drill. Please put down your answers in the comment section. So it would be great if we could enlist all of the commissions and the committees that were formed right after our independence for the purpose of addressing this very, urging issue of creation of states on the basis of language. And again, it would be absolutely amazing if you could, mention in one line or so as to what was the recommendations of all of these commissions and committees. Moving on, road connectivity to North Sikkim, it is restored 40 days after flood. The Indian Army troops of Shakti Corps, in collaboration with the Border Roads Organization, they have successfully completed the construction of the Belay Bridge over the River in Chungthang in North Sikkim. This crucial infrastructure, it was washed away after a glacial lake outburst flood in the Lanka lake upstream, thus severing, which is to say separating the connection between North Sikkim and the mainland on 3rd of October. This bridge, it serves as the lifeline of Lanchan and Lanchung Valley in North Sikkim. This bridge, it will now pave the way for seamless movement of vehicles and provision of relief material to these flood affected areas. GAIL does world's first ship to ship LNG transfer, thereby cutting CO2 emissions. India's top gas firm, GAIL, it has done the world's first ship to ship liquefied natural gas transfer to save on shipping costs and cut emissions. As the state owned entity, it is looking at innovative ways as a pivot to boost business. The company, it brings this volume to India via LNG ships. The ship typically travels a distance of nearly 19,500 plus nautical miles for a round trip to transport LNG from Sabina Pass in US to India via the Suez Canal and the Gibraltar. This journey, it takes approximately 54 days and emits nearly 15,600 tons of CO2. Ninth India International Science Festival 2023. India's mega science fair, it will be held at the campus of Translational Health Science and Technology Institute and the Regional Center for Biotechnology of Department of Biotechnology in Faridabad. The theme of the present edition, it is Science and Technology Public Outreach in Amrit Kal. The 2023 edition, it aims to provide a platform for inspiring public at large and individuals with diverse level of interests like students, educators, scientists, researchers, industry professionals, the entrepreneurs, and science communicators. The IISF, it is dedicated towards fostering creativity in science, technology, and innovation for the advancement of prosperous India. This event was initiated under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi through collaborative efforts of the Ministry of Science and Technology, and the Ministry of Earth Sciences in association with the Vijnan Bharati. Now, again, I have a question, and please put down the answers in the comment section. So, which fundamental duty, you have to mention the provision of which is given in the Indian Constitution? It provides for developing humanism or scientific temper as a whole. Please put down your answers. Moving on to the next update, India-Sri Lanka joint exercise called Mitra Shakti. The ninth edition of the joint exercise, which is called Exercise Mitra Shakti 2023, it commenced in Pune. The exercise is being conducted from the 16th to the 29th of November this year. The Indian contingent of 120 personnel, it is being represented mainly by troops from the Maratha Light Infantry Regiment. On the other hand, the Sri Lankan side, it is being represented by personnel from 53 Infantry Division, 15 personnel from the Indian Air Force, and 5 from Sri Lankan Air Force. They are also participating in this exercise. The aim of the exercise, it is to jointly rehearse conduct of sub-conventional operations under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter. The scope of the exercise, it includes synergizing joint responses during counter-terrorist operations. Both sides, they will participate they will practice tactical actions. And in addition, the Indian Army martial arts routine, combat reflex shooting, and yoga, it will also form part of the exercise curriculum. Moving on to the next update. Suresh Wadkar, he wins Maharashtra's Lata Mangeshkar Award. The Maharashtra government, it has selected veteran playback singer and national award winner Suresh Ishwar Wadkar for its prestigious Gan Samragini Lata Mangeshkar Award for 2023. A Sangeet Natak Academy awardee, Wadkar, he is 68 currently. He will be presented with a cash prize, a memento, as part of the award at the ceremony later. Hailing from a very ordinary family of Kolhapur, in his younger days, he was a wrestler and then he became a music teacher in Mumbai before winning a singing competition in the year 1976 that later got him his first playback singing break with the late music director Ravindra Jain in the year 1977. And this has brought us to the international segment for today. Spain's Pedro Sanchez, he's re-elected the prime minister or as the prime minister. So Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, he has won the parliament's backing for a new term in the office after striking a very controversial deal with the Catalan separatists. In exchange for supporting Sanchez's Spanish Socialist Workers' Party, nationalists from the Spanish region of Catalonia, they secured a commitment from the party leaders to pass an amnesty law that would pardon those linked with botched Catalan bid for independence 6 years ago. More than 300 people accused of crimes in relation to Catalan independence between January of 2012 to November of this year, they could benefit from the legislation. Moving on to the next update, Dominica, it establishes world's first sperm whale reserve. The world's first marine reserve for sperm whales, it is set to open in the waters off the coast of Dominica, which is a tiny island nation in the Eastern Caribbean Sea. The reserve's establishment, it is aimed at safeguarding a local population of a few hundred endangered sperm whales that are threatened by the fishing gear entanglements, pollution, ship strikes, and even tourism. The new reserve, it aims to protect these whales by restricting activities, all of these activities which are harmful and threatening to their very existence. So all of these activities such as fishing, vessel traffic and tourism, while not entirely banning them. International Day for Tolerance 2023. 16th of November each year, it is celebrated and commemorated across the world as the International Day for Tolerance, a day which is dedicated to promoting understanding, respect, and appreciation for the rich diversity of human cultures and expressions. This year, as we mark the 27th anniversary of this significant occasion, it is crucial to reaffirm our commitment to building a more tolerant and inclusive world. Now, here I'm reminded of again the DPSPs, which happen to be one of my favorite topics when it comes to constitution. So I would request all of you to please mention and point out as to which is the relevant provision which says, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the fundamental duties. So, which provides for the fact that, it is duty of every citizen of India that they respect the composite culture and the diverse heritage that we have. So, please put down your answers in the comment, the provision relevant here. Now, it was started by the Union General Assembly, the UN General Assembly, the United Nations General Assembly, with the goal of getting educational institutions and the general public to see tolerance as a staple of society. And then it came after the United Nations declared a year for tolerance in the year 1995. UNESCO created an award to recognize those with great achievements in promoting the spirit of tolerance and or non-violence in the fields such as science, culture, and the arts. The UNESCO Madanjeet Singh Prize and the UNESCO International Day for Tolerance both recognize that tolerance it is a universal human right. Moving on to the last update. Salman Rushdie, he's been honored with the first Lifetime Disturbing the Peace Award. World-renowned author Salman Rushdie, he's been awarded the first ever Lifetime Disturbing the Peace Award on 14th of November. This was Rushdie's surprise public appearance since he was stabbed during a literary event and festival in New York in August of 2022, which is last year. The Disturbing the Peace Award to a courageous writer at risk. It was presented upon Egyptian activist Allah Abdel Fattah. Despite being detained, Abdel stays an image of opposition against Egypt's authoritarian regime. And this has brought us to the legal update segment for today. Punjab and Haryana High Court declares 75% domicile quota for Haryana locals in private sector as unconstitutional. The Punjab and Haryana High Court it has declared the 75% domicile reservation for locals in Haryana in private jobs having a monthly salary of less than 30,000 rupees as unconstitutional. The division bench of the High Court it said, and I quote, the law, which is the Haryana State Employment of Local Candidates Act 2020, it is unconstitutional and it is violative of Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. The name of this particular matter is IMT Industrial Association and Another versus State of Haryana and connected cases. So with this, we've come to an end of today's TNA. In case you want to get access to the free study materials that LawSikho has curated or the TNA slides that have been used in this video, please join the Telegram channel of LawSikho. For the same, you may click on the link which is given in the description or you may scan the barcode here. Also, these are the point of contacts in case you want to get in touch with us. And the link which is based of the quiz which is based on yesterday's TNA, it is also made available for your kind consideration in the description of this video. Please go ahead and attempt the same, and also don't forget to write your answers in the comment section. Thank you for being with us.